The first thing I want to talk about quickly is a lot of the rendering updates. With this version we're working on, there's a massive amount of changes that's going into it. And one of the things that's changing, we've released a few images of this if you've been watching our Twitter accounts and kind of looking at images we've been posting. But the first one is it's called the Sparse Voxel Octree Total Illumination System. Voxel, sorry. Just realized I misspelled it. Sparse voxel, I apologize. I didn't catch that. Anyway, what that allows us to do, and I'll show you an actual example and a demo of it in a minute, is it helps really darken up and add natural shadows to a lot of the world. And it looks really good. And like I said, I'll show that in a minute. A couple of other things we'll be doing is this next version, if you've played the game, you'll notice that a lot of the different buildings, there are decals on the walls, kind of the graffiti and papers on the floor and stuff that flicker really bad at times. This next version pretty much eliminates all of those texture flickers. Gets rid of a lot of that stuff. And we're using a different way of essentially compressing the textures in the game. All of the, the materials on the walls, the paint, the leaves, all the textures in the game. I assume everybody knows what a texture is, I'm hoping. The advantage of that is it's actually using less VRAM now because it's more efficient when it's loading them in. And it also allows us to stream those textures in from your hard disk a lot faster. And there's some advantages to that as well, that if you've played the game, there's a lot of times you'll be playing, you get kind of these little micro stutters as you're moving around. And what's happening a lot of times is because it's loading textures in. And with the new streaming textures, it actually helps eliminate a lot of those little micro stutters. You can go and ask questions, but I'll probably answer them after each slide is all. So I'll try to read them. Then, so the texture compression will be really nice. It'll help out a lot of people. We've also went in and done an optimization on a lot of the forest assets. A lot of the trees now are a lot more optimized than before. Their poly count's been reduced quite a lot, which will also help out. Like I mentioned, a lot of these will help all you guys that are playing the game as far as for the stutters and little issues like that in the game. So will this fix the white flashing that can be seen, particularly in trees and such as well? Possibly. A lot of that I think is caused from having a little bit of a lower frame rate where you get like little white pixel flickering through the trees. I assume that's what you're talking about there. So I have a couple more slides to go through, but yeah, so on the rendering side, from what we're seeing, it's about the same for everybody as far as for performance goes when we've been play testing it. The world looks immensely better though, and like I mentioned, as you're playing, you'll see a lot less of these little stutters and everything as you're playing the game when you're moving around the map and running around, which will be very nice for everybody. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is the networking, and this is probably one that a lot of people want to know about. So we've been doing a lot of work on the networking, and this next version has a lot of changes and tweaks and updates to the networking system. It has a lot of improvements to it. It's more efficient on the way it's doing everything. And when you're joining a server and it's synchronizing the data to you, it'll also be faster during that phase as well. And then little things like the vehicle lights and horns will be synchronized now. And in our initial test, it's looking a lot better. So our goal right now is we want to get it stable with 32 players. And once it's stable with 32 players, then we'll look at adding more AI and players at that point. But our priority right now is getting the 32 players in and getting that stable. I mean, I'm looking at the questions in chat here, and so the car jumping, yeah, we'll be working on that. That hasn't been actively worked on yet, but it's on the list. But yeah, we're well aware of that, and we apologize. So we will be doing that. Visible range of torches. We actually adjusted the lights in this version as well. I believe the torch. I'm not sure if you're talking about a torch as in a flashlight torch or as a torch. I'm not sure. It depends on which country you're from. Some of those we have adjusted the range and everything on those. So I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, so this version, the lights and horns work. They are synchronized. So if another player has them on or beeps the horn, then it works. Yep. Yep. Lens flares on the flashlights as well. Yeah. So a lot of this stuff we've been doing fixes around the networking stuff that we can, and so that's where a lot of these are coming from. But as I mentioned, it is running a lot better for us internally. But we need to get this rolled out and let people start playing with it as well. And so I'll talk about that as well as when we're going to do that. Okay, I'll answer a couple more questions and go on to the next quick slide. So is it possible for the game to go on sale again anytime soon? No. There are no plans to put on sale anytime soon. The storage boxes won't be in yet. We need to. The issue with the storage boxes is there's a lot of items we have to synchronize to all the players in the game. And the more items we add, the worse it makes the net code. And so all these changes we're making right now is to stabilize with what we have with 32 players, and then we'll go in and start adding stuff back in. We have to get the server stabilized first, and that's what our focus is right now. Once that's done, then we'll start adding more stuff back in. Yep. All right, moving on. Animation system. So somebody earlier was asking about what SFP stands for, and this is kind of a term that we came up with. It's called simulated first person. If you've played games such as Arma, and I'm trying to think the best way to explain this, but in a typical, a typical FPS game, a shooter game, you have when you're in first person mode, there's an extra pair of arms that the game adds that holds the weapons. And those are animated independently of a third-person animation, like if you're watching another player holding the same gun. Those animations are completely different. They're done differently. There's a different system for them and everything. However, what we've done now is we're changing what we call a simulated first-person mode, where everything in the entire game is all done through third-person animations. And I'll demo this after in a minute here, so I'll explain this a little bit better. But essentially what happens is when you go to first person mode, it moves the camera from up behind the player, where you're looking down on the back of your head, to where your eyes would be, so you're looking forward. It's using the exact same animations and everything at that point. All it's doing is basically moving the camera down to where your eyes would normally be. And that's why we're calling it a simulated first person, is because we don't have this extra pair of floaty arms anymore. We don't have to do first-person only animations and third-person animations anymore. The entire system will just be third-person animations from now on, and it makes our animations a lot faster because we're only making half as many animations. A few other advantages is if you played the game right now, you'll know that there are times when you're running down the road, if you look at your shadow on the ground, your shadow will be flipped sideways at times, and then you might have a backpack on or a hat on or something, and you don't see those objects on your player's shadow. All that will go away with this system as well. So everything will always use the same model, the same animations. And it'll just make that entire system a lot better for us. And then the other thing we're adding is a tactical weapon mode. So in the game, this will allow you essentially lower and raise your weapon. So you're not always aiming the weapon straight forward. You can lower it down and then raise it back up if you want. So that's a tactical weapon mode that'll be added, and there'll be a key to toggle that so you can raise and lower your weapons if you want. All right, let me look at a couple more questions. I have one more slide, and then I'll start streaming and showing you guys some of the stuff. Any plans to do more zombie textures and types? Not currently. The animators are busy with this new system. Any drawbacks to SFP? It's required us to pretty much redo all the animations. The animators are going through and they have to pretty much redo everything as far as from an animation standpoint. Make sure it all works really well. So there's a lot of work that's been involved in getting it all put back in. And there's issues we've kind of had to work through, but long term this is going to end up working a lot better. Yep. You have a review on Steam. I haven't read it. Sorry, no. Especially if it's in German. I don't read German. I apologize. The slurp values, I think somebody asked about the third-person camera. Yes, the plan is to expose those so you can adjust those. Yep. All right, let's see. Any ETA on the vehicle fixes? No ETA yet. Right now, we're working on getting all this stuff out, and then we'll go back and start working on fixing some of this stuff. And some of the issues, as you've been playing the game, are related to the networking code that we currently have. Sometimes you'll have like your ammo disappear and a few things like that. And that's partly because there's just so many things that we're trying to synchronize, and the system wasn't very tuned, and it should be a lot better now. Stackable ammo will be coming in when we do the new item system, which will be after this next update. We need to get, like I said, all this out first. All right. So just quickly, the last slide here I want to go through, and then I'm going to jump in game. So kind of what all this kind of means to you guys is right now when you join a game, you connect to the server at the very first. There's 3 phases. You connect to a server, and then you have to load the world in. The loading the world in our kind of our timing for it now, it takes about 2/3 of what the current time does. So if it takes you about a minute to load into the game, it should take you roughly 30, 40, 40 seconds to load in now in the next version. That'll obviously vary based on your hardware and everything, but that's what we're seeing. So the world loading should be faster. And because we've had to reprocess all the textures and everything, the game size, and we also, one of the things we did is we went in and there was a lot of stock textures and materials and resources from the default CryEngine SDK that we don't use. And so as part of this, we've ripped all those out. And so with that and the other optimizations, so the install size will go down from about 10 gigabytes currently down to 7. The downside of this is everybody's going to have to download essentially the whole game from Steam with this next update. So you have to download pretty much all 7 gigabytes. There will not be a server wipe. No, we don't need to do that. And we'll see how things are going, but we're hoping to push this out to the experimental server next week so everybody can jump in that wants to and start playing with this new version and see all the new stuff. All right, I'm gonna look for a couple other questions quickly, and then I'm gonna jump in game. Okay, yeah, we're working on getting those actually working in the game right now. It's the issue is Easy Anti-Cheat is preventing it from working, and so we're working with them to to enable that. They lock a lot of that type of stuff out for security issues reasons essentially. Yeah, concerning the fog, there are different weather patterns in the game. There are 3 fog and 3 rain. The fog weather patterns were causing the issues, and all those have been removed now. And I'm not aware, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the only ones that are left in the game now are the 3 rain patterns, and I think the fog is fine in all those. As far as I know, they don't flicker at all. But I could be wrong, but I haven't seen those flicker at all. So let's see. DirectX 12, we'll support DirectX 12 as soon as we're able to. Since we are using CryEngine's SDK, they'll have to add support for it to the CryEngine SDK first, and then once they have it, we'll roll that into our version. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that. So we'll definitely do that as soon as we can. Yeah, it'll load a lot faster off of SSD. Let's see, AMD processors. I'm not aware of any AMD improvements that have been made. I say that because a lot of that core stuff we get from Crytek, and as far as I know, there hasn't been anything. But with some of these changes to textures and stuff, it's possible you'll see an improvement, but I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were saying it wasn't optimized for the AMD CPUs. Yep. Okay, so quickly, let's see. Faster load times and improved netcode fix the synchronizing stuck issues. we're hoping what's happening right now is the servers are currently getting overworked and they're not processing data fast enough is what it comes down to. And with all these changes we're making, the servers are looking a lot better. And so that's the plan next week is hopefully we can get this out on the experimental server next week, and we can get a full server in there and have people really start pounding on it and see what the performance is like. But the only way to know that is we have to get a full server and just kind of run it for a while. But from our testing, it's looking a lot better. Yeah, it definitely the loading and the synchronizing and all that's faster for sure. Yep. All right. So what I want to do here is I'm going to show you. I made a quick little video of what the game looks like today. So if you were to log into the server today, and I presume everybody here's played the game, I'm not sure, but I'm just kind of making that assumption. But I recorded this on one of the live servers a few minutes ago, and what I want you to do is kind of look at the interior of the house as this plays and see how bright the interior is and how kind of flat the shading looks overall in the game currently, as far as for the shadows and the darkness inside and stuff. So let me play this here. And hopefully this comes through the stream fine. So as it's playing, just kind of look at those interiors, the walls, how bright the walls are, all that type of stuff. Let this finish. It's pretty short here. Okay, now I'm going to switch over and show you what it looks like in the game now. Let me go over here and get this ready. All right. So this is the same house. I'm in Woodhaven if you played the game. So this is the same house that's in Woodhaven. And you probably saw it there as I ran outside. But let me see, I'm just moving some windows here. Okay. So this is what it's currently looking like inside in the new version. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's eye adaptation that's going on as well. So as you first go in, your eyes adjust and the inside brightens up slightly. And one of the things we've done is spend some time trying to adjust how dark the interiors of the game are. We can make the interiors as dark as we want as far as for the shadows. And we want them to be darker, but we don't want them to be too dark. And I'll go through and show you a lot of these other buildings here in a minute in the game. But we want them just kind of be dark enough that you get the effect that you're indoors. And then the other thing that's going on now is if you're looking around, it's actually harder to see items. And that is actually a little bit by design. Do we want it to be a little bit harder to find items? Because now you might actually need to use your flashlight indoors if you really want to start looking for items essentially. Right now, there isn't any reason to use a flashlight in the game at all unless you play it on a night server, obviously. So this will actually give you a reason to, if you want to try to use a flashlight. So this is what some of these interiors look like now. And then obviously as you go outside, it's what you'd expect. So I'm going to go around and just kind of show you a couple of the different buildings and talk about the simulated first-person views and stuff as I do it. But I'm going to show you what some of these houses in the game looks like now as I do this. So go ahead and ask questions in chat if you want. But if you played the game, I think you'll instantly see how much better the world looks now. All the darkness that's underneath the awning, for example, there. In the game today, that would all be perfectly bright. Excuse me. So this is what the interiors are looking like now in the game. And the SVOTI that I mentioned this first, the sparse voxel octree, what it does is it's darkening all these based on natural lighting. So where there's windows and doorways, it's naturally lighter than where they don't exist. Excuse me. Yeah, and textures and decals and the graffiti and everything. And it even makes all the bushes look a lot better. It shades underneath all the bushes now, where the current game is pretty much all consistent color underneath, even like bushes, all that type of stuff. So I'm just going to show you a couple more houses. I'm going to go over to the main street. Yeah, we've been doing some adjustments to it. One of the guys on our team has been tweaking a lot to try to keep performance up while it's doing this. But yeah, it's looking really good. The testers are saying that they're getting pretty much identical frame rates right now. And some of those guys are in the chat, so if they want to pipe in. What I'm going to do is walk back inside. And as I walk back inside, I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but you should see the textures brighten up a little bit from the eye adaptation that's going on. Yeah, it's subtle there, but it's there. But you can see the lighting system now looks immensely better in the game. All the light coming through the blinds, all that type of stuff. So graphically, it's definitely a big, another big step up for us. Like I mentioned, one of the things I really like about it is it actually gives you a reason now to need a flashlight. You can still loot without a flashlight, but it's advantageous now to actually use a flashlight inside. If not, it's a little bit harder to to find stuff. You can still find it, but it's definitely harder, which is something that I really like actually about the way it's working. Yeah, it makes the game look so much better. If you compare it to all the other games on the market and even our last version, pretty much all the games are all flat shaded because of performance reasons. And like the video I showed at the first, when you walk in the house at the first, like notice underneath here how it's all dark underneath that awning now. That's an example of what it's doing. It's kicking in and darkening everything up properly. Excuse me. I'm going to run over to the main street in Woodhaven and show you some of the buildings. Some of the buildings look really neat, the commercial style buildings. The flashlight doesn't glitch through walls. It doesn't. I presume where you can see the flashlight through the walls. Our game's always not done that unless there's some weird glitch going on. So again, see the darkness underneath all this. If you play our current game, you know that would be completely bright on the inside there. So now there's actually, like I mentioned, there's a reason to have to use a flashlight in the game. So again, it's another trade-off. You as a player, when you're going around looting items, do you want to pull out your flashlight or not on some of these buildings even and have a better chance? Yeah, some of our... let's see, who mentioned that? Definitely seen paid didn't win. Yeah, the reason for that, some of our buildings are actually made wrong, and what's happening is some of the walls are essentially just a single plane instead of having a thickness to them, which kind of causes problems. But so here you can kind of see some of the shadowing and shading that's going on in this building. And then once you go inside, this is what all the interiors are looking like in the game now. Let's see. I want to show you some of these quickly as well. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about animations as well in just one second. So more of the interiors, lights coming through the door. Here's a good example. If you look at the right there where my light is on the lower part of that wall, you can see where it's brighter on the bottom than on the top. And that's because the light is coming in with the new rendering system and lighting up the lower part of the wall because the floor is brighter right there. So it's a subtle effect, but it makes it look a lot more realistic because of all the natural lighting that's going on and all the kind of the light that's bouncing around. Notice the trees are darker as well underneath all the leaves. We did turn fog shadows back on. They're pretty subtle, but they're in as well now. Just I'm going to go through chat. I haven't been looking at chat. I apologize. Just some more of the interiors. I'm heading down to the office building. While I'm doing that, I'm going to look at some of the messages on chat here and see what I've missed. I apologize here. Let's see. What CPU memory video card do you guys test on? Everybody works off of their home PCs. And I know there's one guy on the team that has a 980. Several of us have 970s. Some guys have, I think, like 550s. Yeah, and then we have a lot of the dev testers that have a pretty good range as well. So it just kind of really depends. We don't have any, official standard or anything. So there's quite a variety. Let's see. Yeah, I'll go to nighttime here in a second when I go to the big office mine. I can't run and scroll this window at the same time. So when will Woodhaven have a purpose? It's just another town in the game, but we're working on the large town up north, and so this will be a spot you'll want to stop off at and start gearing up before you head to the big town as well. Let's see. You talking about the new stuff with weapons or just current weapons? I'm gonna hold off on that. That's time. We're doing something new with weapons, but we're not ready to disclose it yet. So that's all I'm gonna say. I apologize, but yeah. Anyway, so here you can see all the lighting. Where it's lighter on the right and the left, all that type of stuff. Really subtle, but it just makes it look a lot more realistic. I don't think they're actually on right now in the game. So as I mentioned when I was going through the slides, we basically had to redo all the animations, or almost all of the animations for the player. And I think what's happening is they're just not turned on. They haven't just been hooked up, so that's why you're not hearing footsteps in the game. Oh, toned down? Yeah, I didn't think they were too loud either, but we can look at it. I do know there are some sounds that are too loud, like the ocean and the rivers, and they're going to be working on adjusting those. I'm going to run over to this double building over here. So sounds are another thing, is constantly ongoing. We're constantly trying to fix them. We're adding some new ones. For example, in this version, there are some new sound effects related to base building, like locking and unlocking doors. See all the shading going on underneath there now in all those areas. I'm just gonna run up. So let me change the time. Let me go out here and change the time really fast, so you guys can see the time change. Let's change it to something. There we go. I don't think the sky darkens when I cheat, but okay. So 4 a.m. Yeah. All right. So here's the light at night. And like I mentioned, we are reworking a lot of these animations. So for example, right now when you run on my version, then the flashlight's down too low, but little things like that will be fixed. Anyway. Let me change this back so people can actually see on the stream. All right. I want to go here. Yeah. I don't think I mentioned it, but I did have it on one of the PowerPoints. Is the pathfinding is working a lot better now on this version, as far as for the AI. And I want to stop and show you guys some of this stuff, but notice the light on the wall where it's brighter where the light's coming in. All right, now I'm running. Again, that window. I think I've got myself stuck. Yeah, I did. Come on. See all the light underneath there? Looks really cool as I run by. Sorry. Anyway. I don't know if this guy's going to give up. But the pathfinding system is faster now. And so you'll notice that they'll actually follow you a lot more indoors now and upstairs and all that type of stuff as far as the AI goes. I want to be able to stop here, but I don't know if this guy's going to stop or not. All right. So you notice here's the example of the illumination system as the lights coming in and brightening up different parts of the walls and the ceiling up there. So that's part of their illumination. I have no idea where that guy went. I can hear him. Again here, you see the light as it comes through. Okay. Let me go back through and look at questions here really fast. I'm sure there's a ton I've missed. Let's see. Did I miss any questions you saw, Chris? Let's see. Somebody's asking about SEA. I presume that's probably Southeast Asia. I'm assuming servers. We can talk to our hosting provider if we need one. We can set one up down there. I presume that there's a center somewhere close to it. Is the flashlight going to be used underwater? That's a good question. We could enable that right now. As you probably know, since you're asking the question, if you go in water, all your weapons get put away. There's actually a flag that we can turn on, and so we might want to do that. Well, I think we'll have to look at it now because, and I left this off of a slide, but one of the features that's in this version is you can actually drown now under the water. And we're going to be adding an oxygen meter down in the bottom right as well. So that'll be one of the new features you can drown. And I presume some of the areas underwater might get pretty dark now with the new rendering system. So we might have to look at that. I'm not sure. So that's one we'll have to look at. Yeah, Super Donkey. As far as the sounds, what's happening is the version that's on live right now, there was a little bit of an issue with it where the sounds can be heard a lot longer or a lot further away than you're supposed to hear them, and that's been fixed in this version as well. So that one is gone. Let's see. Amazing to border up houses. Yeah, we agree. Anything that has to do with more dynamic stuff in the world is going to need to wait though until we get the server stabilized and getting more players and more AI in, and then we'll start adding in additional features like that. Yep. Yeah, fishing's interesting. I would like to add it from a survivability standpoint, survival standpoint. As in addition to hunting, for example, some of this stuff is waiting for the new item system that I talked about, I think in the last patch notes that we're going to be working on. So once the new item system's in the game, then it'll be a lot more efficient for us to add and transfer items around. Immensely more efficient, in fact, and that'll let us start adding a lot more storage and containers and all that type of stuff into the game as well. All right, let me look. I'm kind of scanning for questions here. Not sure on that one. Crytek, they're working on adding it to the version that we have, the SDK we have. So we'll just have to look at whether we want to actually support it or not. I would like to, but we also have to make sure it makes sense from a company standpoint, and there's a chance to actually recoup our costs for doing it. Let's see. The generator disappears when you hit it. Yep, we're aware of that. Yep. See, Battle Royale. What's going on with Battle Royale is we worked on a map months ago for Battle Royale, and it's on hold right now until a lot of these other things are all stabilized and fixed, essentially. And I would like to add Battle Royale to the game, but I don't want to. The problem, I think, is once we add Battle Royale, I don't want the focus to be Battle Royale. I want the focus to still be on a survival game with Battle Royale as a mod. And so right now it's on hold until a lot of this other stuff gets added to the game. And then we'll go back and loop back and see. So the server glitches, I talked about that at the first if you were here. A lot of that is all related to the networking. And with the version next week that hopefully we'll put on the experimental server, we'll see if those are a lot less likely to occur now. Yeah. This is all real-time delay. All the lighting, the graphics, and everything's real-time. CryEngine doesn't do any baked lighting. So yeah, this is all real-time lighting. Mod support's another thing that we'd like to support mods down the road. We've talked about it, I know, a little bit, within the team and in the past. But right now the focus needs to be getting the game stable, getting to what runs really well with the player counts we want, with the AI we want, and then that type of stuff you would add on more probably towards the beta phase. Right now we're still considered alpha, which means we're still adding huge features that we're missing in the game. Go show you the forest as well here while I'm answering questions here. Is this live? Yep, this is all live. Are you planning on fixing the glitch to kill mutants running backwards? Yeah, it's just the AI system is really simple currently. I'll be the first to admit it. Um, so we're going to be working on that eventually. We're a small team, and I don't want to use this as an excuse, but be aware we are a small team, and there's about a dozen of us that work full time is all in this game. And you compare that to other games in this genre where they have 40, 50, 60, or 100 people working full time. It just takes us a while to do stuff. Uh, yeah. So if you play on the live, you'll notice that this looks a lot better in all the trees as far as all the shading on the ground and everything now as well. So everything's just looking a lot better. So I want to show that. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll to the end. I'm missing a ton of questions. Are you hiring? It depends on for what. We're trying to actually find another programmer. That's what we really need right now. The gun sounds, yeah, there's a lot of feedback on the gun sounds. We're looking at, over time, we pretty much every update we go in and fix sounds, add sounds, tweak sounds, and so it's just a matter of time getting there. Sniper losing a scope, yeah, that's part of the item system issues that I mentioned. And when we implement the new item system, that'll all be replaced, and all those bugs should go away. Somebody can destroy it if they really don't want it there. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah, I'm not going to be going and removing people's bases. I don't think so. If somebody has a base there after the next patch and it isn't supposed to be, feel free to go in and destroy their base and remove it. Yep. Yep, that's for sure. All right, questions. Will it be better view distance? Again, that all comes down. This one I actually have an increased view distance because I forgot to lower it to where our normal play is, but uh, that's something that we'll let players tweak with a slider. We'll have a minimum so players can't essentially make it too short and cheat, but we'll let you increase it if you really want to. So people with a nicer system can increase a lot of this stuff. We're planning on adding a lot more video options to our main menu. As far as for sliders and controls, let you guys start controlling a lot more of this here soon as well. Getting to showing all the shading underneath. Yeah. Ladder floating glitch. I believe we fixed that in our version. So we'll make sure that's fixed for experimental when we roll this out. But yeah, we're aware of that. More vehicles, not at this point, just because there's other things that we need to get stabilized first. But we do want to add more vehicles eventually, yes. Yep. So that will be something we're doing. Let's see. Looking through questions again. Any new items to show us? I presume that's what you're talking about. As far as I presume you're talking about weapons and items in the game. There isn't any that we're adding in this patch. This patch is a lot of it is about the new rendering system, updates to the networking system, fixing some of these big issues and improving some of the big things rather than kind of the little things like an item and so on. But we'll get back to those. Um, yeah. Yep. Like as kind of got mentioned earlier, we are working on some weapon related stuff that we think people will love. Um, so that's kind of where I'm going to leave it at for now. So yeah. Let's see. What are you going to do differently, better than similar games in this genre? Well, every game is differently. Every game is already different and kind of has different goals and purposes and everything. DayZ is kind of more. They're trying to make theirs as realistic as possible, which is good. I play DayZ a ton, and that's where the inspiration for this game came from. Was 3 years ago when I was playing DayZ during the summer, the DayZ mod. Uh, other games, it just every game is just different. So we chose to use CryEngine from the start because of how amazing the world will look. And, So as far as for the game look, I think our game is, hopefully I'm not just being biased about this, but I think our game looks the best out of any survival game out there easily. Even if you compare it to the new rendering engine with DayZ's putting out, when you look at ours, ours still looks a lot better than theirs will, even with the new update, in my opinion. So it just all depends. Rideable horse, yeah. I, I don't know if we'll ever add horses or not. I think it'd be kind of fun to add horses, but I just don't know if we will ever get to it. Is what it really comes down to. There's so much stuff to add to these type of games. At some point, you just have to say, okay, that's enough, and throw it over to the mods and let modders start adding stuff if the mods want to do it. Yeah, this is a glitch, the little character, so ignore that. Um, so here is the keybind screen. So yeah, you can do that. Yeah, he was dropping the plywood on a steep slope. Yep. Yeah, so what I'm hoping we can do is put this out on experimental. I'm hoping for next week, but don't hang me if we don't make it. Just because there's a lot of changes in this version. Like I mentioned, you're gonna have to download the entire game again from Steam because of the enormous amount of changes, because of all the textures and everything that changed. They're a lot more optimized now. Um, so that's kind of the hope is we'll get it out on experimental next week and start doing some performance metrics on the new, kind of the new changes to kind of optimize the network more and kind of see where we go from there. But yeah, blueprints, how rare are they? They're actually guides in our game. You can refer to them as blueprints. That's fine because some other games do that. They're recipe guides in our game. It depends on the guides. Some of them by design are pretty rare. It's just a matter of just going around. I've given this tip before though. If you want to find recipe guides, the best thing to do is to go look in residential areas. Go look through houses and so on. If you stay at places like the military base and only loot stores and like these and gas stations and stuff, you'll have a harder time finding them. So go hit up houses if you want them. That's the easiest way to find them. When you drive quad bikes, they sometimes stop and slow down. Hmm. I'm not aware of that one. It's for Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, I mentioned earlier the chests and the storage will come with a new item system. Uh, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but we're working on getting all the networking stuff stabilized right now for 32 players, and then we'll start adding in uh, additional stuff like that. Yep. The problem with a game like this is if you keep just adding more and more stuff to it as fast as you can, your stability goes down the toilet, and it just gets really bad. And so we're trying to get everything stabilized first, and then start adding additional features on again. Yes, we've definitely discussed that, and that's something we might add. Yep. Harvest deer for food, yes. Once the new item system's in, then we'll add in hunting related mechanics. Right now, we just don't want to keep throwing more items at the world, and it'll just cause problems until things get stabilized. Yep. Is Miscreated using taming elements from Ark? We don't have any taming in the game. There isn't any way to tame anything. Yep. Player count, player count goal for the size of our world. I think I'd like to get to about 64 players for the current map size. Beyond that would just be pretty insane. I think it just end up being like a constant death match everywhere. I think if you had more than that. Right now we're at 32, so I think I'd like to double it. Is kind of the goal I think we should hit. Again, it's just showing the environments inside now, with the light coming through the door and everything. Yeah, we've been working on the mouse, the cursor glitches as well. There's still issues with those. We're aware of it, but we are still working on it. So this is an example on the stream. I know it's pretty dark, but this is an example where it's pretty bright outside. And then when you come inside, you might, definitely want to pull out your flashlight, to start looting, even during the day, essentially. So this is something, as a player, you'll have to decide, is it worth pulling out my flashlight or not? It's an added risk, but I can see things better. And like so, that's the new that SVOTI that gives us, because all this stuff naturally darkens now and makes it look a lot better than it did in the current version. Let's see. Add bikes. I would love to have bikes in the game. I'd actually love to have pedal bikes. Yeah, they will. We will add loot to AI. Yep. So you'll be able to kill deer and obviously harvest for meat and stuff. And then when you kill, mutants, you'll be able to loot items from the mutants as well. Yep. Yeah, so that's something we'll decide next week. We'll get some experimental, probably one or two experimental servers out next week, and get them filled up with 32 players. Look at all the performance metrics, and just see where we're at. If we can add more AI, we'll add more AI. The test servers we've been playing on actually have a lot more AI on them, and it's looking pretty good. But we don't fill up a server when we're testing right now internally. But so I can't make any promises, but it's looking good. But we'll just have to see next week. Yeah. Yeah. So keep in mind, guys, so the idea behind the recipe guides, and you may not agree with this, obviously, but the idea behind it is we give you enough base recipes to create a normal base. There's smaller walls, shorter walls, and everything, but everything is there that you need to create a basic base. So the recipe guides are, it's one of those things. Is it the journey that's fun or the destination that's fun? And it's kind of set up to where as you play the game normally, you'll just encounter the guides, and some people obviously might want to go out and actually just search for the guides only, but it's kind of meant just to be part of the experience with finding the guides. And so as you're playing the game, you find one, you're like, yes, this is awesome. I found this new guide. Now I can build bigger walls and so on. But they're kind of meant to be a bonus. And the other thing you can do is if other people have guides that you don't, you can actually have them make parts for you, and you can place them in your base. For example, there's a big gate piece that you can put in front of your base. It's this big, massive gate with a big gate in it. And so if you know of somebody on the server that has that, you can try to work out something with them and have them build you one. And then once you have the item, you can just go back and place it in your own base as well. So you can have other players build you stuff and swap stuff with other players if you want to do that as well. All right. I'm looking through chat here really fast. I'm going to wrap the stream up here shortly. So how do you get access to the experimental servers? In Steam, if you right-click on a game and you go to the properties, the last tab, I think it's the last tab, it's called betas, is what they call it in Steam parlance. And there will be an EXP branch. And you pick that, and then it downloads the files for the experimental version. So right-click the game in Steam, properties, and go to the betas tab, and that's how you do it. Right now, though, there isn't any event. Right now, the experimental and live are identical, so there's no need yet. But next week, when we roll this out, then if you want to play on this version, you'll need to switch to experimental. Let's see. Show some of the bases. I don't have anything set up right now to show you bases. As far as for parts, though, The last stream I did, and it's on, I believe it's on YouTube as well. I go through and show a lot of the base parts. So look at the last stream, last video. Yeah, I'll talk about more about it in a second. I'll actually, yeah, the creepy gnomes. Okay, so here's the deal with the gnomes. The gnomes we originally added because we were going to hold a contest, and there were 10 of them that we put in the game like 2 years ago or something. So the idea at the time was we would put 10 of them in the game, and we were going to do a contest. Whoever found all 10 locations, we were going to give them, free keys to the game essentially to give to their friends or whatever. Uh, but that was right at the time that we had to switch to the new version of CryEngine, and we had to kind of redo the entire game from scratch. And because of that, that just kind of got dropped. And so now the gnomes are just kind of there for fun. I don't know if we'll do anything with them again or not, but yeah, we'll see. But so for now, yeah, they're just kind of fun little things to have in the game. Yeah, we could do that. We're always, with our system, we can take anything in the game and make it a base building part. We could take the lumber, the pallets, any of the stuff that you see. Any of this stuff, we can easily just make this into a base part and put in bases for people to use. It's very easy to do that the way our system is designed. Let's see. Would stack in more than twos? The stacking system is all going to be changed with the new item system we'll be working on rolling out. We have to have the new item system first. Is really what it comes down to. With the new item system, I've mentioned in streams before, you're going to have durability coming as part of it. We'll be able to have timers for meat that gets rotten. All those type of things will also be part of the new item system. So there'll be a lot more stuff that gets added with the new item system. Again, some more of the volumetric god rays that are coming through there. Showing you how dark some of these places get, pretty much in daytime because of the new illumination system in the game. But, yeah, kind of showing what those look like. So on SFP, let me talk briefly about it. I mentioned earlier, but I'm not sure if people really understand what's going on with it. So these are all what's called third-person animations, where you're watching yourself run or you're watching another player. And there are some glitches to this animation, like I mentioned, because we replaced all of these and we're still working on them. So if you see little animation glitches, just know that we will fix those. So these are all third-person animations right now that you're seeing. Normally, when you go to first-person view here, all of the animations you would normally see here are another set of animations. And the way it would work is your arms are floating, or you have additional arms that come out that are the first person arms. And so you're making an animation for first person arms and you're making an animation for your third person players. So you're making two sets of animations for everything. What we've done is combined it all together so there's no more of the first person only stuff in the game. So when I go into first person, what it's doing is it's using the exact same animations and it's moving the camera for the player right in front of his eyes is what is happening here. So all the movements and everything are exactly what you would see in third person view if you're watching another player move. So that's a simulated first person is the camera gets moved to the player's eye but it's still everything is done using third person animations, which makes things just a lot easier. It's a pain in the rear to get these set up like this. CryEngine isn't kind of made for it, but in the long run, this will work out a lot better for us. Yeah, a lot of time. Yep. And everything's synchronized. I mentioned earlier as well. Like right now, you see my player on the ground there. You see in the shadow, you see has his helmet on and the backpack on and everything. There's a glitch in the current game where the shadow is out of sync and stuff like that because it's using first person and third person animations, and the shadow has to be a third person animation and all this type of stuff, and all that gets removed. It just simplifies everything greatly, is what it comes down to. All right. All right, quickly, I'm going to go and wrap up the stream here in just a minute. plans for mutants. Once the server is stable with 32 players, and we'll try that out next week. If things are looking good, then with 32 players, we'll look at adding some more AI into the game. As far as for the quantity of AI that you'll encounter, and then we'll start rolling in the new item system as it's completed. So we can do a lot more stuff with stackable items and so on and so forth. It will only show shadows and light. I think I missed some other part of your conversation. White death. Will there ever be first-person only servers? Yes, we want to have that at game mode. Yep. It really depends. That's a great question, though. A lot of people post them on Steam. I would say Steam or our forums are by far the best spot. Um, yeah, Twitter is probably the worst way. So I would highly recommend you don't try to send us bug reports or anything like that on Twitter. Um, yeah, it's really hard to have like a conversation and get images and text files and all that stuff back. And so forums, yeah, I agree with Chris. Forums are probably the best choice. And then I wish I had a vehicle and I'd show you the vehicle lights. I haven't seen a vehicle this entire time, have I? Hmm. Yeah, Twitch removes them after, what, 2 weeks now or something. Yeah, I wish I had a vehicle, but I don't. And I can't cheat because I'm on a live server essentially. Okay. All right, last chance for questions, guys, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream. So I don't want to just keep repeating myself all day. But if you have questions, go ahead and ask them now. I'm not sure if you're talking about VoIP as well. In our game, when you're dead, I want you to be dead. And in fact, I'm actually dying now in the game. Um, in our game, when you're dead, I want you to be dead. And the reason for that is because if you don't do that, what'll happen is if you're in a group and get shot, then you'll still be able to talk to people and trash talk. And while some people might like that, I don't personally. Sorry. And so when you're dead, you're dead. No talking. You be dead. Yeah. So people are talking about the hatchet. See how it's kind of on the side there now? It's kind of hard to see. Um, get over here in the light. I'll show you but that's kind of as I mentioned earlier. There's some issues because of we changed all the animation systems and stuff. So there's little like remnants of that around that we'll fix over time. But the kind of the little cosmetic things like that, I'm not worried about right now. We need to make sure that fundamentally everything's working. Then we'll go back and tweak some of that stuff again and make it all work. Yeah. And if you were quick, you'll notice there's a lens flare on flashlights now as well. So you'll be able to tell when players have flashlights on and who has them on. Yep. Troll people. Yeah, somebody's talking about the wood drop rate. So here's kind of the philosophy with our base building system is if it's easy to build a wall, then we're going to make it easy to destroy a wall, just to balance things out. So right now it takes 8 to 10 minutes or something if you have a hatchet to destroy a wall, and that's kind of we went in and kind of looked at okay, how long does it take you to harvest all the parts for a wall, craft the parts for a wall, and set up the wall versus how long does it take a player to destroy your wall. And so if we start making it a lot easier and a lot faster to make walls, then we're going to make it a lot easier to have players destroy your walls as well. So that's the downside. So right now, it's our first implementation of it. We'll kind of watch some metrics over time and see. But right now there isn't any plans to make it any faster to harvest wood. And that's kind of why. All right, in-game maps. We've talked about in-game maps. It's just kind of, we've talked a lot about in-game maps in fact, and it's just kind of always a lower priority thing. Uh, if we do something, it'll be, kind of more like an item that you would hold in your hand type of a thing than a magic map probably. Yeah, we'll add some more of those. We've talked about adding more of those around the map as well. The baseball bat being a secondary weapon. The reason it isn't is because of the size. It's a primary weapon because of the size, and it goes on your back when you unequip it rather than on the side of your body. That's why it's a primary, because of the size. Yeah, pretty much, yep. Add a compass. We've talked about a compass as well. If we do a compass, yeah. There's a lot of things we've discussed, obviously, and we just don't know if we will. But we've had a lot of discussion about compasses and maps in general. I personally like not having a map, but that's me. I love exploring games, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of going through and trying to figure out how games work and where things are at and memorize them and learning the game layout and the environment. And I know that's not for everybody though. Some people want to log in and say, "Hey, I want a map right now. I don't want to have to deal with trying to learn things and figure out where things are at." And they kind of want to it easier. I wouldn't say easy mode, but they want it easier essentially to make the learning curve easier. So yeah. Like I said, I'm just kind of randomly running around. All right. I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Let me see if there's any last second questions. So, I mean like the existing maps on the roads sometimes. We do have, yeah, we were talking about we do have, I'm not sure where I know there's one here somewhere that's a map in Woodhaven, but I'm not sure where it's at. Mark will probably get mad at me because I don't know where his awesome maps are at, but there's one here somewhere. I think it's up here. So this is the type of stuff we'd like to add, is more of these in-game maps as well, so you can find your way around, like this one. Yeah, this one's actually missing a "you are here" marker. You're right there, though. Yeah, north isn't north, by the way, on that map still. Anyway, so this, I like adding this type of stuff to the game rather than having like a magic map that you press a button and you see the whole thing. Yeah, go away. So I think we'll definitely add more stuff like that. Now, as far as for road signs, we have talked about adding more road signs as well, which will help. Street names, road signs, stuff like that. All right. Okay, guys, I appreciate your time. I'm going to wrap up the stream now. We're a little over an hour. If you have any additional questions, though, definitely ask. On Steam or on our forums if you have any questions about what we're doing. But the plan, like I mentioned, if things go well, is we'll have this probably on the experimental server next week. And we'd love to have everybody get in and try to fill up those servers and really pound on the servers to test the networking and the player count, and then see if we can boost up AI counts as well. Okay. Yep, perfect. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close the stream. Stay around for the key giveaways then from Jen. And I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you.